Okay, before I show you the shortcut I was just talking about, I want you to pause this video and fill out the rest of the graph. Or you can look at the picture of the notes, but it may be a little bit different numbers, but still all the same points that I'm trying to make. So I want you to pause this and fill out these bottom two right here so I can explain. But I will explain this. So here I have a positive, I have y equals x to the third power. My leading coefficient is a positive 1, and I have an odd degree. So that's where I am in this chart, a positive leading coefficient and an odd degree. When I have that, my graph will look something like this here in the red. And so the end behavior, well, the ends of my graph, this says as x approaches positive infinity, which remember is the right-hand side, f of x, my graph, is going up towards infinity. So that's what this is, first line right here is saying. Okay, now getting rid of all that highlight. Now I want to do the left-hand side. So the left-hand side says as x approaches negative infinity is on this side of my graph. So what's going on over here? F of x, which is my red graph, is going down, all the way down is negative infinity. So that's my end behavior there. Okay. Over here, I have my example for you is y equals negative 2x to the third power. So I am in this part of my chart where I have a negative leading coefficient. My leading coefficient is negative 2, but the degree is odd. That's where this box comes from. My graph looks something like this here in the red. So that means my end behavior for something like this, oops, negative 2x, is going to be as x approaches positive infinity, that means the right-hand side, my f of x, which is my red graph, well, what's going on at the end of my red right-hand side? It's going down. So it's going, f of x is going to negative infinity. That's how we do that first one. Then I need to do the right-hand side of the graph. Oops. Let me get that back there. The right-hand side of the graph, or the left-hand side in orange, is saying what's going on the left-hand side. So as x approaches negative infinity, which is over here, my graph, f of x, approaches, well, it's going up. So it's approaching positive infinity. Okay, so that's what we have there. Now, a way to remember all of this is going to be by looking at the chart. Looking at the chart means, we're going to rely on what's going on the outside. A positive leading coefficient means that you are going to have the right side up of your graph. So right up. So that means the right-hand side of your graph is going to be going up towards infinity. If your leading coefficient is positive, your graph is going to end on the right going up. And that's what we see here. I have a positive coefficient in this first example, and the right side goes up. And in this next example, I also have a positive leading coefficient of positive 1, and the right-hand side is also going up. Okay? Whereas if my leading coefficient is negative, my right side is going to go down. The right side of my graph is going to go down. So in this example over here, I have y equals negative x squared. This example right here, y equals negative x squared. I have a negative leading coefficient. It's negative 1. And so the right side of my graph does in fact go down. And same thing down here. I have a negative leading coefficient down here, and the right side of my graph does go down. So if you can remember that, we're good. Now, well, what happens with the left-hand side of our graph? That's where the degree comes into play. If we have an even degree, the ends of my graph are going to look the same. So an even degree means that the end, the left and the right are going to do the same thing. So the right-hand side of this graph goes up, and the left-hand side of this goes up because my degree is even. If my degree is odd, they're going to do opposite things. Alrighty, and so my right-hand side goes up and my left side goes down. Same thing with